When I say $150 phone, what do you picture? Pause the video, let me know in the comments down below. For me, plastic build, cheap feeling, sluggish, unusable performance, bad cameras, a device I would find on Wish or something, just not very good things. Well, times have changed, my good people. This is the Nuu G3 Plus, $150 budget phone that feels like a $1,000 flagship device, but does it perform like one?
Yeah. Karaoke and celery.
Now, I'll throw the whole spec sheet up on screen now, but to me, specs don't mean a whole lot in everyday use. Sure, you need a good amount of RAM and a relatively up-to-date CPU and GPU, but you know what I mean. I much prefer to fully measure performance by just simply using the phone day to day, and I've been doing exactly that with the Nuu G3 Plus. I've been using it for well over a month now, and for a phone that only costs $150, it has me impressed. $150 and it's packing all kinds of flagship features. Fingerprint Reader, check. NFC, check. Facial unlocking, check. And the build is nuts too, man. Aluminum sides, all glass front and back. I already managed to crack mine. Should have slapped on the included case. Anyways, this thing feels like a goddamn $1,000 flagship. The feel in hand is phenomenal and the design is beautiful. Now obviously, not everything is rainbows and unicorns. The phone is currently stuck on Android 8.0 Oreo, so not the most recent up-to-date version of Android, but it's not too bad either. Hopefully we'll see some more updates here soon. Now everyday, normal tasks such as, browsing social media, checking and responding to emails, watching a bit of YouTube, things like that have been pretty good so far. Yeah, there's a bit of delay, when using the fingerprint reader or unlocking the phone with your face, so it's not the most snappy phone ever, obviously, but it's no slouch either, especially considering that the phone is $150. It gets the job done relatively fast. If you're coming from a flagship though, like me, then you're gonna notice things right away. Certain delays, like when taking photos, opening apps. It's really kind of like switching from a Lamborghini to a Mustang. You're getting less horsepower, but you can still do what you need to do as long as you're mindful about clearing out, your apps and things like that. Fear not though, you can sort of speed things up if you want to by going into the developer options and turning all those animations down to 0.5. You can also turn off standby intelligent power saving. This is all just gonna make the phone feel, less bogged down. It's a little trick I like to use on all my budget devices to kind of just push them over the edge a bit, give them some more speed. Now, if you're into PUBG or Fortnite and you're looking for a phone specifically to play those games, then I would have to say definitely look elsewhere. The G3, can play them, but with only 4 GB of RAM, graphic demanding games, do stutter and lag from time to time. For instance, PUBG Mobile was playable on the lowest settings, and both lag and delay were present up until you actually jumped out of the plane. Then those things sort of smooth themselves out with only occasional hiccups here and there, which is still a problem, especially in gunfights. Now, most of the mobile games I play are less demanding and they run flawlessly here on the G3 Plus. Now, thanks to the homie, I'm currently hooked on a game called Archero, and there's little to no lag when playing, even when things get chaotic during boss battles and things like that, so less demanding games are just fine. So besides performance, I think another really big factor people like to take into consideration when buying a new phone is battery life. Nobody likes, worrying if their phone can make it through the day or not. And thankfully you won't have to here with the G3 Plus. Thanks to that 4,000 milliamp hour battery, it can go the distance. When pushing the G3 to its limits, I averaged about 6.5 hours of screen on time. That's all with the brightness above 50%, leaving apps open in the background, playing a ton of games throughout the day, just not really being conscious about how I use my device at all. Here's the thing though, when I kicked back that brightness a bit, started using the phone more sparingly with much less gaming, I was able to squeeze out 10 plus hours of screen on time on multiple occasions. That's fucking insane. Now, charging the device back up takes around 2 hours or so from dead. Thankfully, it uses Type-C to do so. Huge props for equipping the G3 with that Type-C port. All too often, budget tech gets stuck with micro USB, which just make devices feel outdated and old. The reason the G3 Plus can achieve a 10-hour screen on time is because it only has to push a 5.7-inch 1440 by 720p LCD screen. Trust me, I already know, before some of you get your panties in a bunch, the screen really doesn't look all that bad. In fact, I really like it. Colors are bright and poppy, blacks are good, not OLED deep, but still nice overall, and you can't really see any pixels unless you hold the phone like extremely close to your face. Who really does that? At regular viewing distance, it looks just fine and pretty damn sharp too, with a pixel density of 282 ppi. Not everything is perfect though. I do have something to bitch about. They tried to round off the corners on the G3 to make it feel more modern, but they did a rather poor job at it. Instead, you end up with these sharp diagonal corners, and personally, I find it a bit distracting. You might have noticed there's no headphone jack here on the G3 Plus, and that's because it's following this horrible trend of just removing it altogether. If you want to plug anything in, like that aux cable, you're gonna have to use the included adapter. And since we're on the subject of ports, let's just go over the rest of the device. Left side is bare, flush, nothing going on here. Up top, you have your dual SIM / micro SD card slot with support up to only 128 gigabytes, which I find pretty disappointing. Dual cameras on the back, which we'll get to here in just a second, and fingerprint reader right below that. Again, not the fastest, but damn amazing to have on a $150 budget device. Right side is cluttered up with your power and volume buttons. I find this a bit annoying because too many times have I turned the screen off when just trying to turn down that volume. I don't like it. I wish they put that power button up at the top. It is textured, but again, I can't really differentiate the power button from the volume button. The bottom is housing that Type-C port along with 2 speaker cutouts. Don't get it twisted though, you're only getting 1 speaker here. That's just for symmetry. Now that bottom firing speaker gets loud. It's not the best quality ever. It's lacking a bit of bass, but thankfully it doesn't sound too tinny or annoying. I would say it's decent overall. Nothing mind-blowing, it gets the job done. The G3 Plus is packed with a trio of cameras, one 13 megapixel front-facing shooter, which you're currently seeing now, and 2 shooters on the back. A 13 megapixel primary and a 5 megapixel secondary. Now, right off the bat, to be perfectly blunt, the cameras don't impress me at all. Sure, for a $150 phone, they're great, more than adequate, but to me, the Pixel 3a takes the cake when it comes to budget cameras on a smartphone. What's really cool here though, that the G3 does that I don't see done too often, especially if you're into selfies, is the front-facing flash. And it has that nice reflective light in your eyes, or eye if you're me, and really steps up the quality of selfies in low-light environments. Now, like most phones, the front camera is the worst performer. The back cameras perform much better, plus they offer portrait mode. That means you're getting that sweet, sweet bokeh. Now, I find that the back shooters are hit or miss though sometimes. The photos either look really, really nice and clean, and other times, well, they look like shit. I would also say the same thing about the video performance. It's not that great. You get up to, 4K 30 FPS recording with no stabilization, so footage does look extremely shaky. I will say that the cameras get the job done when you need them to, just don't expect a whole lot from them and you'll be fine. If you're really strapped for cash, the Nuu G3 Plus is a damn good option, possibly the best option for under $200, and it'll do everything you need it to do and has a shit ton of flagship features. However, I will say, if you can save up just a bit more cash, I would strongly recommend that you pick up the Pixel 3a. To me, it's the best budget phone that you can currently get here in 2019. It'll give you better performance, but at the same time, it does cost double what the G3 Plus does. Now, I'm not trying to hate on the G3 at all. I highly recommend it. It's a great affordable backup phone, or even just a cheap option for yourself or the kids. As usual, I'll leave a link down in the description for you to check out if you wish. That pretty much wraps up the video. If you guys enjoyed it, just know that like button does get lonely. Consider subbing. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out.